Hi, I'm Chris Wise with Wise About Flower Mound, and I'm here with Matt Campbell, and we're going to talk about sun and solar. So tell me, what is this? What is the business that you have?
So roofing and solar.
Oh,
We do
roofing.
both. So
I thought those were mutually exclusive because as soon as you put that solar panel on there, your roof warranty is
you know, it's a great question. That's why when you do it together, hey, we warranty both sides of it. So, you know, we make sure.
That's good
solar
to know.
panels, typically you've got between a 30 and 50-year warranty on them currently. So it's gotten pretty crazy on the lifespan of one.
Yeah.
But working with a company that does both, you don't have to worry about voiding warranties of roofs. Trust me, it's a little weird feeling though when you put the brand new roof on, then you come and punch holes in it like 2 days later.
Yes, exactly.
Just want to make sure it's done right at that point.
Right.
You know, it's definitely important.
For sure. So, I mean, there's a lot of, certainly with the Snowmageddon that we had, a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I had solar panels. So, are there still incentives and things like that?
So the government still has great incentives going on. I think with the current administration, not to get into too much politics stuff there, but the current administration, I think clean renewable energies is going to be a way to push forward for a while. We'll see if they extend. They did actually just do, at the end of last year, the tax credit dropped down by 4%. I think it's 26% right now, which is still, I mean, you can go into a department store and buy something for 26% off. That's a good deal.
That's
still.
A pretty
it was
good deal.
30, so 30 was a little better, but can't complain there. As far as the Snowmageddon thing goes, a few things to know about solar when you sit down with a company that does solar. You want to make sure that what type of system you have. So if you don't have a battery backup system, whenever it gets dark outside or your panels get covered in snow, you're going to lose power. So I would say most customers don't have battery systems. And to be honest with you, we don't do a lot of battery system installs.
Interesting.
Tesla is making things more efficient and more cost efficient, but the batteries are still really expensive.
Right.
So most systems are what they call grid tied, which means you're plugged into your meter just runs backwards.
Right.
So solar's getting really popular. You got a lot of guys out there knocking on doors. We don't really do door knocking. We build relationships with our roofing customers, which opens doors into solar.
Yes.
But a lot of those, that's the first thing they say when they knock on the door. Hey guys, do you have this meter?
Yeah.
Do you got this meter and you're tired of it spinning this way? Let me help you
spin it that way.
You don't really, most counties and cities, they don't really give credits back on your bill, but the idea is to build a system that takes away the power bill, so to speak, that meets that customer's needs. I was actually talking to a guy this morning at a network meeting, and he was saying that he just purchased a house, had a lease system on it, had to take over the lease, and his first month in the property, he had a $200 electric bill still. And I was like, well, it sounds like the system they built for the previous homeowner, they use less electric than you did, so
maybe it was only 2 people, and now you're 4 or 5 people. So
it is, it's different for everybody, but the Snowmageddon thing was crazy. There is some options still there, though. It's still sort of in development. Some companies have started using them. They have an inverter that can actually dump power straight into the house in that type of situation.
Wow.
So that you do have power during the day. Now at night, you lose it. But in that thing, man, I was just doing everything I could to keep things warm in my house. I can imagine how people are looking for it. So,
Wow. So solar, thinking about that. So thinking about when somebody sells their home, so if they're leasing a system,
great question.
Probably like a lease, just like a security system. Do you guys come and pull the panels, or how does that work?
So we don't do lease systems for that reason right there. I want the customer to own their power. So like, I'm going to answer that in two parts there. So you've got like your power bill you pay every month. And we could say currently, if you're paying the electric company, you're renting your power. Because every single month, I mean, yes, you pay for what you use, but it's like a bill you're going to keep paying. If you put a solar system on the house, say it's a $300 a month electric bill, and I could show you how to take that $300 and take out a loan to pay off your solar panels for $300-ish a month. At the end of 12 or 15 or however many years you financed it for, you no longer have a solar bill, and you no longer have a power bill. Depending you haven't the kids haven't gotten older and started leaving lights on all the time and crazy stuff like that. But so to answer the question of a lease system, the reason why we don't do that is it's not a good situation for the customer. Most lease systems will happen in areas where they will get credits for producing power because companies want to basically put power plants on top of your house. In that situation, your buyer has to want to take over that lease. And depending on what the previous customer got them into, some companies are better than other ones. The other thing to know about that is that in a situation where you have an insurance claim, if you're leasing your system, your insurance company more than likely will not pay to remove the panels and put them back on.
And then put them back on.
Which is a huge expense.
Yes.
In a $40,000 system, it can be $15,000 to pull the panels off and put them back on. So It's just things people don't know about it. So we want every system that we sell, the customer owns. We maintain it for that. We have a 30-year warranty on the system itself, and panel production is guaranteed for 30 years. So that's pretty cool. That's why
that's good.
That's why you're going to see solar become more and more and more popular. It's kind of like plasma TVs in the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever they were super expensive and hard to manufacture. Well, now that we're getting a whole bunch of them, things are getting better.
It's a lot easier.
It becomes more affordable. Now anybody, you can go to Walmart this afternoon and pick up an 80-inch TV for probably $350, $400.
I know.
Quality might not be great.
You're right.
For that,
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So, so thinking about the solar system, so you said you finance it for 15 years, but it has a 30-year life. So your payback, I mean, I guess it depends.
It's a 30-year power guarantee. So that means the consumption will not drop. So used to what happened is every year your panel would produce a little bit less power.
Okay.
So at the end of your loan,
like your batteries, they have a memory, I guess.
But the way the photo cells work inside of the panels now, they're guaranteeing that same production for 30 years. So that in itself is really cool. So you could still have the system for 50 years on your house.
Right.
It'll start creating a little less power. Hopefully the kids have graduated and went to college.
Yes.
Just you and the missus.
Right.
Not using hardly any at all power anymore. So.
Exactly. Okay. So wow. So so what I would imagine the south side of the house is probably the best side because you get sun all the time. Great
questions. There are better sides. So you really want southwest facing is your most perfect option. And if that's the back side of the house, that's the best because you don't have to worry about HOAs and that type of things. Different areas, I'm an aesthetics guy. I hate to put panels on the front of a house.
I know.
We do see it. But to answer that question, for people that are looking into it, south-southwest, because you want the hottest sun of the day.
Oh, okay.
So you have your southern sun, and then your western sun is where the heat's at.
Right.
So if you have a company coming in and they're like, hey, let's put them all on the east side of the house.
Right, no.
It's morning sun, it's a cool sun. Trust me, owning a roofing company this time of year, you get up there, western-facing sun in the afternoon, it'll cook you, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so obviously, I mean, I think some HOAs, or maybe it's illegal for them to control it, that you are allowed to put them on, or they can't prohibit you.
Being in real estate, you know how HOAs are.
Yes.
I mean, they're there to keep things in certain guidelines. Most of the time you can fight that because it's not necessarily it is stuck to the house, but you can move them. If you do move them, obviously you have to have roof repairs and things like that done with it. That's where we're working with the solar and roofing company.
Right, together.
It's not to say that we haven't put panels on an area that production doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, so then you have to move a few. We've actually got one that we're going to be moving panels on next week because of a chimney issue. The chimney was in the way a little bit, and it's casting shade on about 5 or 6 panels.
So then you're not
during optimal times of the day, so we're going to move those. And the customer has no trees, so it's like it's really just an issue of the designer should have caught that the chimney was that big. So it does happen, but it's about doing the right thing in those type of situations.
Right.
Going in and moving it. And like I said, if you're working with a company that does roofing as well, then we know how to properly repair.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of stuff when these companies come in and just rip stuff up and caulk a hole and hope that it's good.
Right, and it's not in the Texas heat. There's no way.
That's exactly.
Caulk's just going to drip right through.
You've done this long enough to know how the Texas sun bakes its heart on the roof.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. My goodness. Okay, so what are other things that people don't think about to consider? Is there additional insurance that's required, or?
So typically it's just notifying your insurance company. It's not necessarily going to increase your policy, but you definitely, like I said earlier, want to make sure that you're purchasing a system and not leasing a system.
Okay.
There are options where leases might make sense. I'm not a fan of them. I don't do them. As far as other things customers should know about, like I mentioned on the battery thing, it's a personal thing here. I get that there's some people that want to be off the grid, but currently, like if I sold you a system that had a battery in it, the battery would cost you about $10,000. And then at the end of that 10 to 12 year, batteries have lifespans. So at the end of 10 to 12 years, you're investing another $10,000 in your system.
Right.
So the idea of being able to pay off if you have a battery system, you're probably going to, for the next decade, you're going to be replacing a battery, and then we'll see what Mr. Musk, as long as he keeps, that's the other thing too, let's be honest, these are greener ways to do things, but you have to understand that by having a battery tied system, you're still creating, you have to do something with batteries when you get rid of them someday. So it's not necessarily the most greenest thing, depending on what you're getting into it for.
Right.
Personally, I'm a dollars and cents kind of guy, so it's like we call it penciling. If we sit down with a customer and it makes sense to stop paying the power company and to invest in your property, it really is a no-brainer at that point. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, Matt, you're telling me that on average, I'm spending $250 a month. We could build a system for that.
Right.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure there's those other things, like I said, the direction, that you're okay with the aesthetics. Panels have gotten you can drive around and look at stuff now, and you'll catch it. It's funny after we talk about it, you notice things.
Yes.
But you'll be driving around, you'll see like the older panels that have like the metal all the way around the outside.
Yes.
They've gotten the low profile ones now that just look a lot nicer. I mean, that's the difference in when they were put on the property.
Mm-hmm. And then when you have a dark roof.
True.
I mean,
my favorite. Roof. I love the black roofs. Aesthetically wise, they don't always work out for customers, but that's my favorite roof.
Yeah. It just looks better than the weathered wood. I'm not a fan of it.
Most popular roof.
So tired of weathered wood. Ugh.
I did three this week, so I can't say that.
I know.
I actually talked the customer out of going charcoal to go weatherwood this week. All of her fascia was done in a brown color.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's not
she had a
look
brown
good.
brick, and I was just like,
no.
I was like, your next house, and she's like, you're right, Matt. And then we did it, and she was like, yeah. As far as that goes, I'll talk about roofing for a split second there.
Sure.
A really cool upgrade the customer should definitely look into is raised ridge. The ridge cap, the high profiled ridge.
Now, is that the venting?
No, that's
so
cool too.
This is okay.
So whenever, and you have to look at this like when you're driving around looking at properties and stuff. But if you look, most roofing companies, it's a builder standard to do. They basically take a 3-tab shingle and they put it on. They have a nice architectural roof. And they put 3-tab shingles up the ridgeline.
Yes.
And it's common practice. I mean, we do it, but. In an upgrade, I offer all of my customers at no charge the high profiled ridge, just because it looks way nicer. And when you're in a neighborhood with a whole bunch of restoration stuff going on, and 3 of mine have high profiled ridge, and the other ones are coming back with this janky thin ridge thing.
I thought it was a 3-tab cut.
It is. There are certain
all ones, this time.
There are certain ones that make a ridge, but most companies don't do it. They just 3-tab cut them and throw them up there. I mean. For logistics, it's fine. It works just fine. It's
right.
Look.
But
for the difference in actual cost, a ridge shingle bundle is around $30, and the high profile is around $60. So it does double the cost of the ridge. Most houses, it's a cost to us of about $250, $300 for it to look way nicer.
Yes.
And just has that finishing look. Now to talk about the ridge vents you were discussing, those have become very popular. When I first got into roofing 6 years ago, I was offering that to like everyone is like, hey, do ridge vent, do ridge vent. It's not always the answer to venting the roof properly.
Right.
I was actually on one over in South Lake for a realtor last month, and it had blistering all over the roof because they had added ridge vent last time and it didn't have adequate flow from the bottom. So you want to make sure with ridge vent that you have plenty of soffit vents.
Yes.
The soffit vents get cleaned out every few years. Because if they don't, and then you'll have people that'll come in. I've seen where they'll come in and add blown-in attic insulation. It'll clog those soffit vents, and then it'll bake the tar out of the $40,000 roof they just put on. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that one was interesting. So it does happen.
Yeah. You gotta. It's all about the flow. It's not about that you have a place for it to go out. It's got to come in.
Yep.
It's got to be able to draw that. It just
has to be able to breathe. It's like anything. If you restrict one side of the breathing, it can't flow. So definitely.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. So roofing for 6 years, solar for how long?
Solar, so I actually did a little bit of solar before I get into roofing.
Really?
So I've been in the solar industry for 7.5-ish years.
Okay.
Started in sales. Just understood that I like the dynamic of working with customers and the relationship and being in a different place and building that whole thing.
Yeah.
So with solar, when I did it 7 years ago, it wasn't as cost efficient. Right. It was harder to go. You kind of still had to be a tree hugging hippie for it to really.
Exactly.
And it was a lot of that we did.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I think it saved the earth, sure.
Right.
But I'm also
it's got to make sense
I'm a capitalist
with
too, and like if I could save the money in dollars and cents,
and help the environment, I'm all for it.
It's a win across the board. Yeah. So solar experience has been 7+ years, and then roofing for 6. And then it was kind of like when we started Texas Sun 2 years ago. And kind of branching out on our own and starting that, it made perfect sense to put the two together because it was like
definitely
it's a marriage that does make sense. Now we do all the other restoration stuff as well. Gutters, garage doors, fences. All those are through dedicated subs that we use, exclusive guys every single time, so that we have good relationships built with that. But we can handle storm restoration stuff. Solar installs. Those are our bread and butter. That's what we do, and stay very busy at it. So.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think as we all kind of look at the cost of energy and, what is renewable, what's not renewable, and how can we make a bigger impact, but still make it financially,
Sure. And I think a lot of times in the solar industry, we compare to California. We always look at California. Well, look at California's energy costs. Is what we're paying A few years ago, so for instance, 7 years ago, it was that I was comparing that 8 to 9 cent a kilowatt price. Now, if you're getting an 8 to 9 cent a kilowatt price, you're doing amazing.
Yes.
Most people are 11, 12, 13 cents already. Look at California, they're double and triple that depending on where you're at. So I think there's a lot of other nuances that go into that.
Right.
But definitely, it's kind of a flow. So it all kind of happens, and we slowly come up to that level. So by locking in, sure, you lock in the price of production costs today and energy costs today. It is a no-brainer in the future, but it doesn't. It's not one size fits all for everybody. It's building the system that works specifically for them and the property. And it's about a relationship for that, for sure.
And then I think also looking at how long you're going to stay at the house.
Yeah.
Because if your payback or your payoff is 10 to 15 years, and you're going to leave in 5 because Johnny's graduating college, then it might not make sense.
You being in real estate know the best on that part. I have people all the time that tell me, well, it's a good investment in my property. And I'm like, I think you have to commit to be there for a while for it to actually make sense. You have to pay off the system. You don't think you have to pay off the system necessarily. But, it's not one of those things that I would never tell a customer, put solar on your house, it'll sell it 20 times faster.
Right, exactly. That's not
case. Put a new kitchen in your house.
Right, there you go. That's where you need to invest.
Maybe be the guy who puts the pool in the backyard and took the hit on that. But
but
not the solar. The solar's more of like the gentleman I was talking to this morning. Luckily, he was about renewable energy, so it made sense for him to contact the company, take over the lease. But now he's got to figure out, the system's not producing enough energy for me.
Exactly.
And he has a payment, because a lease is a payment, just like if you went to the dealership and got it, you got a payment, but he also have a payment over here with the energy companies.
Right. So it's like, wow, what did I get?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would just say, do your research when it comes to solar. I think it's great. I think everyone should have it, but it's not a one-size-fits-all shoe. And definitely know the difference in owning versus leasing.
Yep.
Because I've seen countless times. I'm thinking of one customer right now that I'm still dealing with his insurance company because, unfortunately, he got stuck with the company that put a lease system on his property, and then he needed a new roof already, and then it was old, and they didn't do that. Just put the panels up there, and then we get the call after this hailstorm in April to come out and he's got some money for the roof, but nothing for the panels and nothing for the. And he's an older gentleman, so it's just like, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but it's like just trying to figure out the system. And we worked with his insurance and got him some more money, but it's still one of those things. It's somebody else, he just thought it was a great idea that he did this.
Yeah.
It is a good idea, but just understand what you're getting into.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think so.
And it's so great that you have married those two things, because literally just 2 days ago we had a realtor summit, and we were talking about solar and voiding roof warranties and making sure that you had somebody do it correctly and all of that. So it's just perfect timing that we're chatting.
Definitely, you want to do your due doings, right? You want to know what you're getting into with it, and it's becoming more and more and more popular. I mean, heck, I keep referencing Mr. Musk, but as long as Elon keeps building electric cars,
exactly.
He's changing things. He's changing the dynamic, and it's going to continue to be a thing that people are going to need to know about. And education is important. So I really appreciate you bringing us on here today and letting us do this, because that's kind of my thing. I like to make sure customers really understand the process of what they're getting into.
Exactly.
We're not one of those companies that sits you down and same day closes and tries to get everything. No, it's more about build the relationship, make sure stuff happens, and take care of them properly.
Right. So. Well, and that's how I run my business too. So there's a synergy there.
I like to work with realtors that do good business that way. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah. I don't like that signed here and it's only today and prices are going up.
The thing with solar too is if you look around, you do want to get a good cost of dollar per kilowatt. That's what you're looking for. So, and it does vary a lot.
Wow.
So, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, good. Well, so if any of you are thinking about solar or a new roof with solar on top of it, make sure you give Matt a call. And we've got all of his information attached here. And we so appreciate you tuning in today, because, our goal is to let you know about other companies that are out here in Flower Mound and the surrounding areas. And maybe it's something that you'd want to do business with and somebody you'd like to do business with. So, Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it. So I'm Chris Wise with Wise About Flower Mound. We will see you next time.